Hey YouTube, today we're going to talk about the entire arc of a house that I bought out of pre-foreclosure. We're going to talk about how I found the deal, how much I bought the deal for, when I bought the deal, and most importantly, when an investor buys a house out of pre-foreclosure, does that seller always get the raw end of the deal? Do they just get a few $1,000s and then that's it? Is there a way for them to get the house back? So we're going to go through this house in detail. I'm going to show you that not only can an investor make a lot of money on the deal, but we can also have it be a win-win with the seller to where they actually end up getting the house back. So the first question with pre-foreclosures is, how did I get the deal? This was a simple one where I kept going around and round on the last 10-day list. What is the last 10-day list? All that means is you're looking at properties that have 10 days or less before a foreclosure sale. And in the case of this particular house, I cold called, got a hold of the seller. He was going through some situations with a COVID forbearance. He had a lawn mowing company and he had gotten really sick. And a couple of summers in a row, he hadn't been able to work that business the way he should have. He was starting to get behind on his payments and it just wasn't a good situation. So when I called him, it was actually a really productive conversation. He wanted to meet at the house, go through all of his options. Okay, so how did I find this guy? Cold call. Okay, I simply picked up the phone, dialed a number, got a hold of the seller, had a quick conversation, set up an appointment all within a few minutes. So this just goes to show that you don't have to do a ton of activity with pre-foreclosures. You can do one activity and it can generate an appointment really quickly. Now, when did this all take place? This actually took place around June 2022 is when I originally made contact with the seller. Now, I went to the appointment. It was actually a pretty reluctant seller. He wanted to go through every single option, had tons of questions. So we went through all of his different options. Can you reinstate the house? How much are you behind? He said, well, I'm probably 8 or 10 grand behind. I could make up my payments now in terms of I could make the monthly payments. I've got things going again with my business so I can afford that monthly payment. I just can't afford all the money that I'm behind right now. So can I make that reinstatement amount? No, I can't. So I walked him through a few questions. Could you get that money from a family or friend? No. Could you get that money from a 401k? I don't have a 401k. I have my own business. So he realized that he could not reinstate the loan. So reinstatement, that was out. I said, have you talked to your lender about a loan modification? Yeah, I've talked to them. They actually denied me. I even filled out all the paperwork. It's not looking good. He eliminated himself from that. I said, okay, we're right before the sale. We got about 6 days. Have you thought about filing a bankruptcy? And it's interesting how people respond to bankruptcies. Sometimes they're like, yeah, let's just file bankruptcy and we'll do it that way. Other people are extremely against that. This particular seller said, nope, I will never file a bankruptcy. I will get out of it on my own. Okay? Then I talked about a cash sale. I simply glazed over that, said I could pay off your note, get you a little bit of equity in your pocket, you can move on. He was kind of interested. And then I talked about sub 2. This is the route that I really wanted to go. Why is that? Well, he wasn't that far behind. He was about 8K behind. The attractive thing was that his interest rate was 2.75% and his total payment, PITI, was around $650 a month. Now for reference, this was a townhome. It was in really good condition. Rent rates probably around $1,450 or $1,500 retail, and I was really trying to push him towards the sub 2 route. But for some reason, he just couldn't get over the fact that that loan was going to stay in his name. I tried all the sales techniques. I tried to overcome all those objections. He just did not like sub 2. He would not go that route. So you'll notice we got these 5 different options. He's disqualifying himself. It's not that I'm doing it. He's actually disqualifying himself. So what did that leave? It left the cash option. The problem was that he wanted to stay in the property. He was adamant that he stay in the property. And one of the first cardinal rules in buying something out of pre-foreclosure or taking down a rental is to not let those sellers stay in the property. So if you're a new person watching this, I do not recommend that you take down a rental property and keep a tenant in there that can't make the payments as they are. So if you come across situations like that, find an experienced investor like myself or someone in your market that you trust, and maybe even assign this property or work with them together and JV it. I wouldn't recommend you doing that on your own. So why did I feel comfortable letting him stay in the house? Well, one, he had quite a bit of equity. We were going to make quite a bit of a spread on that over time. But two, I sat him and his wife down. We actually went through their finances. Not only did they tell me, this is how much is in our bank account, but they went through their statements from their lawn mowing business, and he could actually show a good bill of business from the previous few months. So I felt comfortable that he was going to be able to make the rent payments to me. Now, was it a risk that I was taking that he wouldn't make those payments? Yeah. But if you can buy the property deep enough, you can kind of outweigh some of those risks. So what was the cash deal that we ended up coming up with? He owed around $120K on the property. That was including arrears, that's including everything, but he really wanted a little bit on top of that to pay off some other bills, some credit card debt, some past due other bills. So I gave him $5,000 on top of that. Okay, so this was our purchase price, $125,000. Then we came up with a lease agreement. Remember, I couldn't do sub 2. I wish I could have taken over that loan. That was a $650 a month payment, but we had to go get a traditional loan, which kind of stinks, but it still ended up working out. So let me erase some of this. Okay, so once I spoke to my mortgage lender, we got a new loan in place. Our total all-in monthly payment was $975 a month. Now, the seller was struggling to pay this. Did he have the ability to pay this? That's why we went through all of their statements, all of their income from their business. We found that they could actually afford, with their income, $1,350 a month. We talked about that at length. They felt comfortable with it. We wrote up a lease. So we were going to make, give or take, a short $400 a month in cash flow before all property management and expenses and things like that. Now, when I bought the property, the seller's goal was always to be able to buy it back. He had lived there for a long time. He had made years and years of payments. He asked me at the appointment, is there a possibility to where you actually buy the house, but maybe 2-3 years down the road, I can buy it back? Now, most investors aren't going to do that. It just doesn't seem like a natural thing to do. But I'm in the business of treating sellers right. So I said, yeah, let's try to get you approved first. What's it going to take when someone is that far behind on their payments? How long is it going to take for them to get their credit up? Well, at that point, his credit was probably somewhere around 500.
Bruh.
He'd missed a lot of payments. It was going to be low. So what is that credit score that he needed to have to be able to buy the house back? Somewhere around 620 to 650. So we hooked him up with our lender, and over the next 12 or 18 months, he started building up his credit again. He started making payments on time for all of his different bills, and slowly, over time, he got ready to buy the house. So I asked him several times, hey, are you ready to buy the house back? He said, no, I'm not really there. I don't have the down payment. I'm just not ready. Well, the situation was kind of forced because I actually made a mistake. All right? So I bought this property in our East-West Properties. That's my company. We bought it in that LLC. And we knew from the beginning, because this is a condo unit, that in the HOA it says that you are not allowed to rent. So we tried to keep it a little quiet, and we tried to not have anything happen. They actually didn't find out for about 18 months. What was my mistake? Well, we had formed this rental LLC, and we were smart ones and called it EWP Rental. Okay, so when the HOA was going through and doing whatever they do to keep track of all these houses, they saw this word, immediately gave me a call and said, hey, is someone renting this property? I said, yes, here's the situation. There was a foreclosure, we had to buy it, they didn't have anywhere to go, and they said, we can kind of feel for that, so we're gonna give you a grace period of 60 days. And after 60 days, we're going to start fining you $100 a day for having the rental and breaking the rules on that. So of course I went to the seller and said, hey, look, we really need to have you buy this or have some type of creative solution. Are you ready to buy this house? This was probably, when was this? About January 2024. Okay, so from the beginning, June 2022 to January 2024, what is that, about a year and a half, the seller was able to get his credit up, get enough for a down payment, get approved, and we started putting together a sales contract for him to buy the house back. Now, what are the terms of that sale? Okay, because remember, I bought this house for $125K. I actually sold it back to him for $185,000. Now, before a lot of you say, well, that's kind of a crazy profit. Couldn't you have sold it for quite a bit less and still made a profit? Yes, I could have. I'm a real estate investor. I want to make a lot of money on every deal, but I also want to do right by others. So the good thing was that this house had appreciated so much that it was actually worth $215,000. So I could have put it on the MLS and got that and made quite a bit more, but I gave him a nice discount. So he actually got a lot of equity. He got the house back from me, and I made a good profit of, give or take, $60K. Okay? So this is a great example to where I can help a seller out of a situation. He was in pre-foreclosure. I cold called him. We came up with a great purchase price. He was able to stay in the home because he had kids. He didn't want to move them out of their school. So he was able to stay in his situation, his ecosystem without moving. We helped him get approved with a lender, get approved to buy the house, and he was able to buy that house back, and we are actually closing escrow on that in a few days. Maybe I'll even be able to get him to do an interview with me for YouTube and kind of explain how he felt through this whole situation. But we were able to do good by others and still come away with a very nice profit. So hopefully this inspires you to realize that real estate investing in the pre-foreclosure world can be really flexible. You, of course, can buy the house for cash and immediately sell it. You can, of course, wholesale the deal. You can take the house down subject to and have it be a rental. If you're brave enough and you're experienced enough, maybe you can have the seller stay in the house and try to get them to buy it back in a few years. There's a lot of ways that you can serve other people. So hopefully this just gets the creative juices flowing in your mind, and I will see you in the next one.